Here we go again. Yes, it's Wednesday night. Doop-a-doop-doop-de-doo. Would you like to see tonight's sunset? The sunset tonight was gorgeous. So here it is. I won't show all of it, just a few moments. And there it is, the sun setting around about half an hour ago. So just half an hour ago, the sun was setting over my house as I was preparing to start tonight's live stream. And there it is, the sun setting in the distance. In the tree you can see a little blackbird watching the sun go down as well. A beautiful scene indeed. To get us started on tonight's live stream, live from England. Yes, live from the UK. It is Mr. Duncan in England, and that is me. I hope you are okay today. I hope you are happy, and I hope you are feeling super duper. Here we go, live from my little studio on Wenlock Edge. It is live English for a Wednesday night. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? Are you really happy? I hope so. Here we go again. Welcome to something I call Mr. Duncan has indigestion and also hay fever at the same time. That's what's going on tonight because I've had terrible hay fever all day today. The pollen count, and that is a measurement of how much pollen there is in the air. The pollen count is sky high. Sky high. It is very, very high. So I have been coughing and sneezing, and my eyes have been very sore all day. So it's been driving me a little bit crazy. If you are also a sufferer of hay fever, you will know exactly how it feels. You will know that it is not the most pleasant of experiences suffering from hay fever. So for those who also suffer with hay fever, you have my sympathy because I know exactly how you feel. So let's get things started. First of all, let's have a look at the dahlia. How is the dahlia in the garden coming along? Well, as you can see, oh, yes, even since last week, it's grown a little bit more. So there it is, the dahlia in the garden. And now it looks as if one or two of the buds are about to open. I can see at least one bud that looks as if it's about to open. So I think this time next week, or even on Sunday, we might have some flowers that have actually opened out on the dahlia. So there you can see one, and it looks as if it's going to open very soon. So there it is, my lovely dahlia. Well, in fact, it's not mine. It actually belongs to Mr. Steve. One of his work colleagues gave it to him last year. So there it is. And there you can see one of the buds. Oh, yes, that looks as if it's about to open. What do you think? Yes, it looks as if a flower is about to emerge from that bud. I think so. It will open out and the flower will come into bloom. So, yes, I think everything is starting to wake up with the dahlia. So I hope you enjoyed that. A lot of people do write to me, by the way, and they ask, Mr. Duncan, please tell me about your dahlia. Has your dahlia opened out yet? Has your dahlia come into bloom? Well, it looks as if it's about to. Maybe on Sunday we will have a flower. And you can tune in on Sunday. Lots of things going on this Sunday, also around this area as well, because there is a big air show, a big air display taking place this weekend on Sunday. So if we go outside on Sunday, we might also get to see some large aeroplanes going over the house, because there is a big air display not very far away from where I live. So that looks like something to look forward to. Here's something to look at now. A lot of people ask about my footwear. I don't know why. People are always very interested in my socks. So here we go tonight. I thought I would do something different with my socks. And there you can see a live view of my feet. And you can see tonight that I'm wearing odd socks. I'm wearing odd socks. So they are different to each other. They are different. So they do not match. They are odd. So if two things don't match or they are different from each other, we can say that they are odd. So tonight I am wearing my odd socks. On the left you can see I have red, yellow and blue. And on my right foot you can see blue, pink and green. Something very quirky. I'm doing something very quirky. Quirky. That's a great word, isn't it? If you do something quirky, it means you do something slightly unusual or odd. Something that is part of your character that is quite unusual. We can describe it as being quirky. For example, I always wear a hat. I wear a hat almost all the time. So that is a little bit quirky. It is unusual. It is something that gets you noticed, but also it is something that is part of your character. So something you are known by, something that is a little unusual. Talking of unusual things, last week, if you remember, we had some visitors, some new neighbours at the back of the house. And tonight they came to say hello to me. Would you like to have a look at the cows and also the bulls? And here they are at the back of the house tonight, just before the sun started to set. And there they are. So a nice close-up view of the cows. So there are some cows and there are some bullocks. Bullocks, that's what you call them. Let's have a closer look, shall we? Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Hello. Hello, what's your name? So they are only very young cattle, so they are not very old. And they are quite curious as to what is going on around them, as you can see. So they came over tonight to say hello to me. So in the field at the back of my house, there are some bullocks and also some baby cows. They are so cute. Are they? The cutest thing you've ever seen? Aren't they lovely? And they were very curious as to what I was doing with my camera. And there they are. Okay. I think they've had enough. I think they're going now. Okay then. Are you going now? All right then. See you later. Bye. Bye cows. Bye bullocks. And hello to you. Hi everybody, it's Mr. Duncan on a Wednesday night, and of course we have the live chat. We cannot forget about the live chat or else I will get into trouble. So here it is. The live chat is now here. Yes. Let's see what's going on, shall we? Oh, hello there. Let's scroll up to the top. Let's see who is first on the live chat. Pedro Belmont. Oh, well done, Pedro. Pedro is first on the live chat tonight. Also, Shirin. Hello to you. Aurora. Also, Francisco. Andrew. Pedro. Alex. Andrew. Again. Catherine. Can I say a big thank you to Louis and also Olga for your emails that I received just a few moments ago. So I did see them, and I would like to say thank you very much for sending the emails. Olga says, I am sorry that I missed some of your live streams. Don't worry about that, Olga. It's all right. And Louis Mendez says, thank you very much for helping with my English. And I'm glad that my lessons have been useful to you, Louis Mendez. Thanks for your email as well. For those who want to get in touch, you can, of course. There are many ways to get in touch. You can follow me on Facebook. There it is. You can see right now the address underneath. And also, if you want to, you can also follow me via email. So you can write to me and say, hello, Mr. Duncan. I really like your lessons. Or maybe you can say, hello, Mr. Duncan. I don't like your lessons. It's up to you, really. I have very thick skin. If you have thick skin, it means you are able to take criticism, or you are able to take negative views of yourself. So if you have thick skin, it means you are not easily hurt. It's true. So we have the live chat and lots of people are here. Let's go down the screen and have a look, shall we? Let's see who else is here tonight. Nicole says, what a beautiful sunset. Yes, it was. Tonight we had a gorgeous sunset. So yes, it was very nice indeed. Beautiful this afternoon with you, my teacher. Thank you, Lepel Fernandez. So where are you watching at the moment? Belarusia is here. Hello, how are you today? I have a sore throat. It is very cold here in Buenos Aires, and we have had a sunny day, fortunately. That sounds good. Well, I have been suffering all day with my hay fever. Really, really bad. So from time to time, you might hear my voice crack. You might hear my voice struggle to be heard. Brazil loves you so much, my dear teacher. Thank you, Lepel. You are watching in Brazil then. Okay then. Now I know. Have you taken some medicine for your hay fever? I have lots of medicine here. Some of it works and some of it definitely doesn't work. Definitely doesn't work. Mr. Duncan, do you remember I made a question for you, but you didn't answer? My question was, what is the difference between president, chairman, and chairperson? Well, president is the leader or the person who is completely in charge of something. A chairman is a person who sits in a meeting and they control the meeting. So they are not necessarily the boss. They are just the person who looks after the meeting. And a chairperson refers to the same thing, but it is genderless. So it could be a man or a woman, male or female. Anna asks, can you smell the odour of the cows and bullocks when you stay in your house or when you go outside? Surprisingly, and you might not believe this, you can't smell anything. You can't smell the cows, and you certainly can't smell their poop. So even I'm amazed by that. But no, they don't smell it all. The only time the cows smell, the only time you can really smell something is when they're very close to you. And quite often they will breathe into your face with their big nostrils. They will breathe into your face. And when they do that, you can smell the grass on their breath. You can smell the grass being digested in their stomach. So, yes, sometimes cows have very smelly breath. It's true. The pink MSP says, it's my first time here. Welcome, the pink. Where are you watching at the moment? I'm intrigued to find out where you're watching. Delph Ack says, again, Mr. Duncan, good evening. Good evening to you as well. Pedro says, thanks for your reply, and now I know the difference. You are welcome, no problem. Zaneth, hi everybody, Mr. Duncan is the best teacher. Thank you, Zaneth. That is very kind of you. The smell is an ancestral sense. Yes, maybe. Well, from my point of view, it is the smell that they make. So their odour, the smell that they give off. But you would think that cows and bullocks would smell worse, but they don't. So at the back of my house, you can't even smell the odour, which I always find amazing. That was one of the things I was worried about before I moved here. I thought maybe if we had animals at the back of the house, I thought maybe we would be able to smell the stink from them. But in fact, you can't. In fact, the only time you can ever smell anything around here is when the farmers are spreading they call it slurry. They spread the fertilizer, which is all of the processed poop. It's true. And they spread it on the land. But it has a terrible, terrible smell. So the only time you can ever smell anything bad around here is when they spread all of the slurry on the land. It is a very, very strong type of natural fertilizer. It's true. So there you go. Thanks for your messages. So many people on the live chat. I hope you are happy tonight. Pedro says, I like the smell of cows and also horse poop. I'm not sure about that, Pedro. I don't know about that. I'm going to be honest with you there. I'm not quite sure if I would agree with you there. If I would agree with you about the smell of what's going on? My live chat has gone crazy, by the way. Please calm down. Yes, I think so. I think there's something very unusual about enjoying the smell of other animals' poop. I think so. There's something very weird there going on. The live chat is on, and I am trying my best to get this right. I'm just going to have a drink of water because I'm about to cough my head off. Oh my goodness. That's better. I really need the water tonight. Palmyra says Sandra Bullock. Ah, yes. There is an actress called Sandra Bullock, and she is a nice film actor. Or actress, of course. Slurry. Yes. Well done, Catherine. Slurry. Is this the correct spelling? Yes, it is. It is the thing that is used to put on the land. It is a form of natural fertilizer literally made from poop. I'm glad that your dahlia is saved. Yes, my beautiful dahlia. Now, I think the flowers are actually red, dark red, although it looked as if the flower was purple, but I'm pretty sure they're red. According to Mr. Steve, they are red, so I think we will go along with that. Talking of flowers, by the way, I have been asked about my lovely Dunculus. There it is tonight. Yes, the Dunculus has returned. Now, unfortunately, during the winter, this poor plant was literally destroyed by all of the snow. But of course, nature is very resourceful. And as you can see, it is now growing back perfectly. So yes, for those asking about my Dunculus, my artichoke thistle, it is now growing very nicely. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking. Hello, Mr. Duncan. So bad you are unwell with your hay fever. I know. I hate hay fever so much. It makes you feel very tired. These months in June and July in Brazil, we have the traditional festival of June in the church school or among friends with special drinks and food. Oh, that sounds very nice. Anything that involves food, I am always interested in. Kares asks, what about the bees? Are they killed by Roundup? Roundup is a weed killer. So as far as I'm aware, Roundup, which is a type of weed killer, you use it for killing certain types of weeds. It is safe for insects, as far as I know. Mr. Duncan, right now I'm visiting my sister, Samia, in the south of Pantanal, a natural environment in the centre of west, or near the border of Paraguay. Oh, I see. Okay, then. Thank you, JC Geordie. And a big hello also to Samia as well. Belarusia asks about the rhododendron. All of the flowers have now fallen off. That is one thing that is slightly annoying about the rhododendron. It's the fact that the flowers don't last very long. They only last for a few days and then they all fall off. So sadly, the rhododendron now has lost all of its petals. They have all fallen off. In fact, it looks quite a sad sight, to be honest, which is a shame. So there you can see the times of my live streams underneath. You can catch me on Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time, and also on Wednesday, now of course, at 10 p.m. UK time. Don't forget to check the time differences depending on where you are watching in the world. Thanks also for your lovely kind donations. Can I say a big thank you to all of my Patreon supporters? There we go. Thank you very much for that. And thanks for your monthly donations. There you go. And a big special hello to you. And thank you very much indeed. Let's have a look at one of my lessons now. This is one of my Ask Mr. Duncan lessons. And these are a series of lessons that I made where I answer all of your questions about the English language. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I hope so. Here I am with you all once again as October looms over the horizon and the long shadows of winter creep ever nearer. Yes, it's time to take a rummage through what I like to call my email inbox. Another selection of your questions and comments await. So without any more dilly-dallying and lollygagging, let's have our first question for today. Why do people use the expression, you know, while speaking English? Do you know what I'm doing? I'm looking at one of my videos. Please yourself. This interesting question comes from Nicole, who lives in Canada. First, it is worth noting that during everyday speech, people tend to use involuntary phrases and words in their sentences. It is common to hear people use phrases such as, you know, as a way of reinforcing their statement. It is a kind of phrasal tic, a speech habit.
It is supposed to add emphasis to the point a person is making. You know. It is what I do when I'm telling you something. You know. Another speech habit is where the person says yeah, in, or at the end of almost every sentence. My mate goes down to the shops, yeah, 'cause he's out of bread, yeah, and when he gets there, yeah, the place is closed. This can be a little annoying to listen to. My mate Bill, he is a lawyer, yeah, and he says he can help you get your money back, yeah. Other phrasal tics include repeatedly using actually or basically, as well as I know, as another person is explaining something or talking about their problems. Basically, actually, you know, yeah. It's annoying. A nice email. I have received a nice email from Rachel, who lives in Hong Kong. Rachel writes to say that she discovered my YouTube English lessons through her teacher, who plays my videos in the classroom during each English lesson. Well, Rachel, your teacher is not the only one doing this. Many schools around the world are now using my video lessons in their classrooms too. So I'm happy to hear they have proved useful to both you and your classmates. Take care and a big ni hao ma to everyone watching in Hong Kong. Why don't you allow comments on your Ask Mr. Duncan videos? This question was sent in by Justina, who lives in Poland. The reason why I do not allow comments on my Ask Mr. Duncan videos is so that questions are not left on them. As there are so many videos now, it would be impossible to check them for new questions. So I took the difficult decision to block comments on them. This does not mean that I do not want to hear from you, and you are more than welcome to leave comments under all my full lessons, as well as my main Duncan in China video channel. There is also my Facebook page too, and of course I always welcome your questions and comments at my email address, mrduncan@ymail.com. What are the differences between the words make and do, and how do we use them? Note to self: don't forget to put the rubbish out tomorrow morning before you leave.
You are such an idiot. Can't you remember a simple thing like putting your trash out?
Don't you hate it when technology answers you back? Cheeky thing. This question comes from Alim, who lives in the Ukrainian Republic of Crimea. There is a definite difference between these two words in that one refers to actions where something is created or made. Make a pie. Make a hole. Make a video. Make money. Although the last example has two meanings: to create money or to earn money. The word do tends to be used when describing an action where something is achieved. Do the laundry. Do your homework. Do some gardening. Do generally relates to work that will be done or has been completed. However, there are times when both can be used. For example, you can make a portrait or you can do a portrait. In this case, one describes the work and the other describes the result of the work. In the past tense, we did a portrait or we made a portrait. Synonyms of make include build, construct, create, compose, craft, and put together. The opposite of make is destroy. Some animal idioms. Believe it or not, there are many idioms in English relating to animals. Straight from the horse's mouth. To hear something or get information directly from a person who is most involved or connected to the subject in hand. I got this information straight from the horse's mouth. To work like a dog. This means to work for very little reward or to be treated badly in your job. My boss makes me work like a dog. To be as happy as a pig in mud. To feel content and satisfied with your situation. I'm as happy as a pig in mud. The bee's knees. Something that is of a high standard or quality. This new TV is the bee's knees. Crocodile tears. To cry and shed tears without feeling any real emotion. You pretend to cry. A bull in a china shop. To rush into a situation without thinking it through. Or to be careless. Dressed up like a dog's dinner. A person who wears clothes that are over-stylish or unsuitable for their age. He or she is dressed up like a dog's dinner.
How do I understand the meaning of words while reading English books?
This question was sent in by Dulani, who comes from Sri Lanka, but is now studying here in the UK with her husband. Well, as far as improving your English goes, it all depends on your own level of English and how difficult the text is to understand in the first place. It is always tempting to avoid reading books which have been written in a very simple way, using basic English. Some English students find them insulting and patronising, but the fact is you have to start somewhere. Although this is not your situation, there is no shame in an adult reading books aimed at young children, if they provide the education needed. I think the hardest part of learning a new language for an adult is accepting the feeling of learning like a child. But in fact, learning any new skill often starts with the most basic elements. I always say that everything starts with ABC. The best way to learn is through grasping the basics. For your particular situation, I would recommend that you buy or borrow a dictionary that has been written in your own language and has the English translation for each word placed alongside those listed. These days, English translation dictionaries are available in a wide range of languages. It is an invaluable tool for improving your grasp of the language while boosting your word power at the same time. I hope this is helpful to you, Dulani, and a big hello to your husband, Thamula. I hope you both have a great time here in the UK.
It's that time again.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and any passing extraterrestrials curious about life on this planet, it's here again, the feature they tried to stop, suppress, ban and forbid, but couldn't. This week's word is obnoxious. This is a negative word which describes a person who is hateful or has a cruel and cold nature. They are unbearable and detestable. The word is often confused with arrogant, which means a person who shows off and likes to boast and brag. So that person would be arrogant and obnoxious. They would be hated and detested because they brag. The opposite of obnoxious is nice.
Another nice email.
I have received a nice email from Romy, who comes from Brazil, but now lives in Japan. Romy enjoys watching my English videos, especially the ones about happiness and sadness, and the ones about the human body, the weather, and the variations within English. I see from your email that you teach Spanish, English, and Portuguese there in Japan. Okay, we get it, thank you. That must keep you very busy indeed. Good luck with your work, Romy, and thank you for your special cheer for me. Viva Mr. Duncan! Viva English! Viva all of you! Before I press the eject button and leave you all again, I would like to say a special hello to all my new students, including Carey, Vieira, Angelica, Nina, Hector, Sareth, Musa, Zakia, Carlos, Sufarat, Mudassa, Gloria, and all the many others who have joined me here on YouTube and on my Facebook page too. Just to let you know, right now I'm preparing 2 new lessons, one of which was filmed during my recent holiday abroad. Where did I go? All will be revealed in the not too distant future. That is all from me for this week. I will see you all again soon with some more of your questions and comments. Until then, this is Mr. Duncan in England saying thank you for asking me. And of course, ta-ta for now.
Doop 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 doo. And as if he needs any introduction, well, on a Wednesday night, normally we have to wait for Mr. Steve to come and join us, but tonight we don't have to because he is here right now.
Hello. Hello. Actually, an introduction would have been nice.
Oh, okay then. I can give you an
No, don't bother.
No, it's okay. No, wait there. Okay, then here we go. Introduction time. So live from the UK, here he is, the man who gets more fan mail than me or George Clooney. It is Mr. Steve. Yeah.
Hello. Yes. I'm here at about the usual time, 10:30, because even though I haven't been out tonight because the show's over.
Mr. Steve is feeling a little down at the moment.
I'm feeling a bit down because the show's over. I always feel like this after a show, though, don't I, Mr. Duncan? I always feel a bit lost.
Yes.
A bit down because it's been exciting.
Because you have such a busy period of time where you're rehearsing and doing things, and then you perform in the show, and then everything stops, and then suddenly you have nothing to do.
Apart from help you with your live English lessons.
I'm very pleased to hear that.
Which, yes, hence I'm here now.
I was showing the cows earlier. Oh, because Steve gets very excited about the cows. There they are again. Aren't they lovely? They are actually quite unusual, aren't they? They look very, very different.
They're unusual. Yes, there's a lot that are a very light colour, like a very light brown, tawny colour. I would call that.
That's it. They're
very beige,
very pale.
Beige or tawny.
Tawny, like a tawny owl.
Yes, they're sort of. Yes, it's unusual to see. You think of cows as being black and white, a bit like that one.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Look, he came to say hello.
And
they are as cute as a button.
And they're very young.
Yes, I think these particular cattle are only about maybe 7 or 8 months old. They're not very old at all. I don't think they are even a year old.
Yes, so, I don't think they are.
So I think they're very young indeed, because they are about half the size. Well, maybe slightly more than half the size, but they are very small, aren't they?
Well, they've got a lot of grass to eat, so I think that they'll double in size in the next 3 months.
They might come back next year. As I mentioned last week, sadly, most of the bulls or the cattle that go to the back of the house normally end up being
I think they all do, yes.
Slaughtered.
Burgers.
Yes, they end up in
They end up in, well, I don't know what type of meat it is. whether
beef
it's-
burgers or inside pies.
I don't know if they're high quality meat cows or whether they're just for burgers. Yes, hello, thank you. We actually I actually was reading the comments. As you know, I love to read the comments from your viewers, and there was an interesting one about farming and about how farming is. Oh, look, you've had a donation.
Oh, thank you very much to JC Geordie for your $10 donation. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate
very
it. And
kind.
that is on the Super Chat. You can make donations live on the Super Chat.
That's going to help you very much towards you're going to have to buy this new system, aren't you?
Yes, I've had 2 months of free use of this particular encoding system, and it is quite amazing actually. It's professional quality. So this weekend my free trial actually comes to an end. So now I have to unfortunately buy it. So
this is the system that allows you to show everything on the screen live in the way that you do. Show
Yes.
clips,
it's
fade in and out, show us on different cameras.
just like a real television station, in
Yes,
fact.
this. So the encoder, as you say, is something that allows you to display everything in the way that you do on your live screens.
You know-
the other
no-
one was useless.
Yes, normally if you look behind the scenes of a television station, you normally see someone sitting in a big room with lots of television sets or lots of screens in front of them, and then they're normally pressing lots of buttons. Well, this piece of equipment is basically the same thing, except for the fact that it's built into the computer. So yes, I have to sadly find some money to pay for that this weekend. Oh my goodness, and it's rather expensive. So there you go.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
You wanted to address Caradas. Now, Caradas mentioned a lot of English people complain about intensive agriculture in Great Britain that kills natural diversity or interferes with nature. Please take action against it. This is not about Brexit. Well, I'm not sure if we could actually confuse that with Brexit. I'm not sure if it's possible. But yes, in certain parts of the UK, there has been a very big problem with intensive agriculture, and it has had an effect on the surrounding nature. Insects, especially, such as bees. At the moment, there is actually a shortage of bees. So there are fewer bees around every summer than there were 20 or 30 years ago. And they believe that this is caused by the types of farming that takes place in certain parts of the country. I don't think around here we have such a problem. So I don't think in this part of the country we actually have the same problem, to be honest. So that's just what I feel about it anyway. What do you think, Steve?
Well, there has been quite a large reduction in the insect population. I remember, because I've been driving for many years now, probably 40 years. No, yes, nearly coming up for 30, about 35, 40 years I've been driving. And the one thing you always noticed in the summer was the number of insects and flies that you got on your windscreen, that splattered on your windscreen. And over the years, that's gradually reduced. So if you go out now, you see far less insects splattering on your windscreen than you used to many years ago. And I think that's because of changes in farming practices, lots of pesticides being used, cutting away all the hedgerows, and change in crops. I mean, we have a lot of oilseed rape. Mr. Duncan's mentioned that with the bright yellow flowers. When I grew up, nobody was growing that. It was just wheat or barley. And I think the change, all these sort of changes in agriculture have meant less diversity in the insect population, such as the bees, but all sorts of insects. Yeah. You just don't get so many on your windscreen anymore.
The other one, butterflies.
Butterflies are drastically reduced.
When I was a child, I remember every summer you would see butterflies everywhere and all shapes, all colours, different types of butterfly. But now you rarely see butterflies. You might see the occasional one, but you don't see very many.
No, you don't. And the bird population has been affected because there are less insects. Because the birds rely a lot on the insects to obviously feed their young, which is probably why we see the birds coming to the bird feeders so much, because they can't find the insects.
That's it.
Or maybe they're just lazy and it's easier to come to our garden. But yes, I think that it definitely has got worse since we were children. And of course, they've been cutting down all the hedgerows. Hedgerows are the bushes that mark out the borders between fields, and which because fields have been getting bigger, they've been cutting down the hedgerows where all the birds nest, and so that has reduced it. They've been killing all the weeds with not pesticides, herbicides. A herbicide is something that kills plants. A pesticide is something that kills insects. So they've been using both. So if you haven't got the plants, you haven't got the insects, the birds, it just has a cascade all down the food chain.
Yes. So one thing can affect many things. And
yes.
I think so it's a fair point. I think Caradas makes a very fair point. But I think in certain areas now there have been many changes. And I think I think there's a good chance that around here that those changes have taken place. So I don't think there is intensive farming around here, or certainly not as much as there used to be.
Well, I think oilseed rape, I think that contributes to... I don't think it attracts the same sort of biodiversity as maybe wheat and traditional crops that were grown. And of course, we import a lot of vegetables now and wheat. Yes. I don't think we grow very much wheat for our own consumption anymore.
There's something that surprised me today because I ordered some shopping yesterday and it came, and I ordered some sugar and there was a bag of sugar, and I was very surprised to find out that the sugar is actually grown here in England.
Right, sugar beet.
Yes, so that really did surprise me because I always thought, maybe from my ignorance, that the sugar was imported, but in fact I don't know if this has changed over the past few years for certain reasons, but the sugar is actually grown and processed right here in England. So yeah, that's pretty good. I was quite surprised about that.
Yes, because sugar can come from sugar cane, which are long canes, or they can get it from sugar beet, which is like something that grows just on the surface. They're quite big sort of lump. I don't know what you describe them. They're like sort of giant potatoes.
Yes, and inside it's all
full of the sugar. And they grow that in certain parts of the UK. So maybe that's where our sugar's coming from. But yes, it's quite a controversial subject.
It's very controversial.
And talking of pollution, anybody made any comments about that? Farms of worms.
Yes, that's quite interesting. Andrew says there are farms that produce worms and they sell them for agricultural purposes. Of course, worms are very good because worms actually eat the soil and then they poo it out at the other end.
Yes.
So they are very good for sifting and purifying
aerating
the ground.
So yes. Whereabouts are you, Andrew? Let's have a look at your name again. Are you from Russia? I'm not quite sure.
Let's have a look. Andrew Malachikov. Andrew is a regular viewer of ours, so
I'd like to know where you're.
I have a feeling he might. I'm not going to say exactly, but I think he's in Russia.
Yes, farms of worms. How interesting.
Ingles says, "I'm happy to see you live again. Thank you very much. You are welcome." Sergio says it seems that the quantity of insects depend on the highness or the height of the grass because they can't reproduce themselves if the grass is cut short. Well, this is another thing. Yes, the way that agricultural changes or the way that farming has changed over the years, that it actually has caused a lot of damage. It has had an effect. And that's what we mentioned earlier about the insects, because we rarely see any insects anymore. We rarely see them.
TS has made a comment about organic farming, of course, being a solution. Yes, we eat. I mean, I've always been very, very keen on eating organic produce.
This is true.
As you know, I've been buying organic food now since it's first started appearing in supermarkets, probably 20 years ago. I would say probably more than that.
I think it would be fair to say that 20 years ago, you didn't really see organic food in the supermarkets.
No.
There would normally be a very small section put aside, and quite often the food. And if there was anything that even resembled organic, you would have to pay a lot of money for it. So,
but it still costs more. But it's now widely available in many supermarkets, and I always go for it. It does cost a bit more, but then if you don't eat as much of it, then you won't use as much up. So in the long run, I don't think it costs you any more. And the main reason I switched to it was because I didn't like the pesticides being used. And I didn't like to think of what they were doing when they went in my body.
So give us some examples of the organic food that you buy.
Well, all the vegetables, if I can, all the fruit, so oranges, apples, grapes, you name it. Vegetables, I always try to buy. Well, the ones I try to go for are the ones that attract most of the pesticides. So certain fruit and vegetables, when you spray them, they retain more of the pesticides than other fruit and vegetables.
Would a good example be strawberries?
Well, something that has a large surface area. So if you look at something like broccoli, then broccoli is like cauliflower. It's got lots of a high surface area. So if that's sprayed, it will retain a large amount of the pesticides. And certain fruit and vegetables have to have a lot of pesticides in order to make them fresh. Grapes, for example, are readily sprayed with pesticides. You can wash them, but it doesn't get rid of all of it. The fact that it might taste nice, I think some of it tastes nice. I've never really detected massive differences in the taste between organic and non-organic food. But yes, it costs more, but I don't like the thought of the pesticides. What are they going to be doing in my body? It might be stupid. Particularly if something's coming from, I think the other thing about pesticides being sprayed on food is, if you've ever seen a farmer spraying a field, it's not particularly even. They try to make it as even as possible. So although they say the levels are safe, what happens if you get some produce that's in the corner of the field that's had an extra dose of spray?
Yes, that's it. Because I would imagine, and I've seen around here when they spray the field, certain parts of the field get more than others, especially if the wind is blowing in a certain direction. So imagine if they are spraying chemicals on the vegetables. So you might find that in some areas of the field, more of the chemicals go on to the vegetables, and maybe in other parts only a little does. So yeah,
that's just me. I'm just a little paranoid, just a little.
Yes, I think
obsessed
sometimes
with that.
This is true. But I think caution is always a thing that you have to keep control of. So you might be too cautious and become paranoid about everything, or you might just throw caution to the wind. That's a great expression, by the way. If you throw caution to the wind, it means you are not careful, or you don't think about what you're doing. So you buy anything, you eat anything. So I think sometimes being cautious is a good thing as long as you keep it under control and not get too carried away.
Yes, but yes, we buy a lot of organic food. Yes, it costs a bit more, but it's not dramatically more. Organic meat. Now, the fruit and vegetables cost a little bit more, but organic meat costs something like double double the cost
Yes.
of. I mean, if you buy carrots and apples and oranges, they cost maybe 10 or 20% more than non-organic ones. So if you buy a bag of apples, you might pay. Say a bag of apples costs you £2 or maybe €2. Then it might cost you €2.20 or £2.20 for the organic version. But when it comes to meat, well, an organic chicken is double the cost, or
Yes.
sometimes 3 times the
Yes.
cost.
So you're talking 100% increase
Yes,
in the price.
Organic meat. Well, we don't buy very much meat,
No.
and you can't really buy organic fish. It's in the sea. I mean,
Yes.
what's in? I mean, that's full of pollution. So yes, organic meat we don't buy because it's very, very expensive.
Yes.
And actually, there are environmental reasons to suggest that actually is worse for the environment, because they've got to be, and it's certainly not good if you want to feed a lot of people, because to grow something organically, it takes longer to grow. You've got to have larger amounts of area in which for these cows to roam around, because of the grass. They need larger areas.
So if they're eating fresh grass, there has to be plenty of fresh grass for them to eat. So that means you need more land and more areas. And of course, if you create larger farms or larger farmland, you have to destroy certain areas to do it. So
Yes.
it's very, very, it's a very complex thing. So sometimes even what might appear to be good agriculture can be just as damaging. So that it is a very fine line. And you mentioned fish just, and that is a real problem, because we prefer eating fish, don't we?
Yes.
We prefer eating fish. But of course, there is, as you said, there is no such thing as organic fish, because fish comes mainly from the ocean, and you can't really separate the fish in the ocean. It's impossible.
You can get organic salmon, farm salmon, but that's because it's on a farm and it's controlled. But then you still don't know what they're feeding it.
No,
They're
even
probably feeding them pellets.
yeah. So they're probably giving them something to make them look, to give them more colour, or to increase their size. So you don't know. So I think with fish, even though it seems to be the most healthy thing to eat, in some cases it might actually be the opposite.
Well, you've got to be careful with certain fish, oily fish, that can concentrate pesticides, like salmon. Tuna, you're only supposed to eat, the advisors now, only to have salmon or tuna once or twice a week, because even from the ocean, because of the amount of pollution, it concentrates the pesticides, I think, in the and heavy metals like lead, mercury, into the fat of the fish. Sergio thinks it's a marketing trick.
What?
Organic food. Well, it depends on your point of view. If you buy food that is properly organic and has the stamp of approval on it, then you are getting a product that hasn't been grown with pesticides. But a lot of fruit and vegetables, you don't probably have to worry about pesticides. I mean, potatoes, I mean, if you can peel it, then most of the pesticides are on the surface of the fruit or vegetable.
Ah, yes.
So if you're peeling it, it won't have very much impact anyway.
So if you take the peel, if you take the surface off the vegetable, then you are removing the outside.
Yes, there will be some that gets inside
But
from
small.
when it's growing, but the vast majority is on the outside. So I understand.
I tell you what this proves. This proves that there is no perfect way of producing food. There isn't, because
Well-
whatever you do, it has some sort of effect. It's almost enough to make you go vegan. But then even if you were vegan, you've still got to eat vegetables, and then you would probably have organic vegetables. And it's just like a paradox, really.
If you could grow all your food yourself, which of course everybody used to do, my parents used to grow all their own produce when they were growing up.
Yeah.
It's how it's changed over the generations.
But quite often that wasn't by choice, though.
No, because it was cheaper. It was much cheaper to grow your own fruit and vegetables, because
Yes.
people didn't have so much money
That's it.
70, 80
That's-
years ago.
Yes, we are. I mean, certainly in the West. I'm only talking from this point of view, or our point of view. it's very easy now. You can go onto the internet and just do, and then your groceries, your shopping will come to your door. So it's all become very easy.
Oh, that's an interesting point that Caridas has made there.
Let's have a look.
Monsanto,
Yes.
which was a company a number of years ago, was being blamed for, now what were they being blamed for? I think it was genetically modified. I think Monsanto, yes, they were the company that were trying to breed genetically modified food like wheat, things like that.
Oh, yes, actually.
There was a lot of controversy about that.
I remember this.
And in fact, I think there was so much public outcry in America about Monsanto that they virtually went out of business, and they couldn't sell any of their. They were trying to get farmers to buy their genetically modified. See, there's another whole debate: genetically modified food.
Yes.
But interestingly enough, Bayer, who are a German company, I know that pharmaceutical company, have, according to Caridas, have just bought out Monsanto.
Oh.
So that's interesting. I think I'm right about. I don't know what Monsanto are doing now.
Well, it looks. Judging by what Sukat says, it looks as if in Argentina Monsanto has actually had a direct effect. It looks like. So in Argentina, Monsanto equals
poison.
Poison. Yes. Okay. Well, I suppose we should be careful what we say. I don't really want to be sued by any pharmaceutical company, really. So it looks as if Monsanto has just been bought by Bayer.
Yes, I think Monsanto was an American company. Certainly 10 years ago, they were in the news a lot because of their genetically modified, as far as from what I can remember. And in fact, there was lots of controversy a number of years ago because in America, I know that there was a company, I can't remember what they're called now, that they would only let you buy. You used to be able to get lots of different varieties of wheat, and they were buying up all the different seeds, and they were getting the patent on them and then withdrawing them from the market, and you could only buy their own versions.
Ah, yes.
So this diversity that somebody talked about earlier has been reduced because companies who control what seeds you buy, like the wheat seeds or the barley or whatever it is, are only letting you buy certain varieties because they're buying the patents for all the other ones.
So they take the competition, and then the only choice of supplier is that one company.
That's right.
So they create what they call a monopoly.
Yeah.
A monopoly. They control everything. So by buying up the things that are competing with you, and this happens a lot in business, by the way, a lot of big businesses do tend to buy smaller businesses who are their competitors, and then they buy the businesses and they either make sure that they go out of business or they just control them to make sure that they don't interfere with their main business. So this all happens. Who would have thought that the world of agriculture would be so intriguing, but it is.
Sukat also mentions, which is a good point there, that meat eaters, people who eat meat. So if you like eating beef and any kind of meat, it actually is quite bad for global warming because they use up a lot of they produce a lot of CO2 and a lot of greenhouse gases. It's quite an inefficient way of eating.
Yes,
it's better to eat plants if you can, because if a cow eats a plant, it's got to process it, so that's generating lots of gases and CO2. The meat's got to be processed; it's got to be transported. So better for the environment if we are actually vegetarians.
Well, I remember
apparently.
when I was a kid, my granddad used to have a big area of land, and he would rent this land from the council. And it was actually an area where there were lots of these plots. And my granddad used to grow all sorts of vegetables on this plot of land. It was called an allotment. And in the past, allotments were very, very popular. many
Yes.
people would have their own allotment. So this is an area of land that they would use to grow their vegetables on. And my granddad's was a huge area, massive. And then in the end, as my granddad got older, my dad used to go there and take care of it as well. And many a Sunday morning, we would take a wheelbarrow. We would walk all the way from the house to my granddad's allotment, and we would pick potatoes. We would take potatoes out of the ground and shake them and clean them. And he used to grow peas as well, and we would take the pods of peas, and then when we got home we would open the pods and take the peas out and clean the potatoes. It was amazing. And in the summer, at the height of summer, my granddad also had a big greenhouse, and inside there were always all these lovely ripe tomatoes as well. So this is something you were talking about.
Well, my father used to grow, we used to grow when I grew up, we grew tomatoes. Dad built his own greenhouse, so we grew tomatoes. We grew all the vegetables in the garden. But if you had a large garden yourself, this was fine, you could do this. But the allotments were for people who didn't have big gardens. And so the council, who owned a lot of ground, would allot or give you a piece of ground for you to, and you just paid them a small amount of rent.
That's it.
And gave them a small amount of money, and then you could grow all your vegetables on there. But of course, what's happened over the years is because of the pressure for housing, the councils have sold all these bits of land off, and so there's less and less land available for people to grow their own vegetables because they've built houses on them now.
Yes, much of these places, much of these allotment areas have been sold and houses have been built on them. Although, having said that, the place where my granddad had his allotment still exists.
Still there.
It's still
that's good.
It still exists. So yes, I know for a fact that the allotment is still there, and so it's still something that's popular, but maybe not as popular as it used to be.
Caradas says there, you see, that's what's happening. Seeds that farmers use can no longer be purchased outside large companies such as Bayer. So that's what's happening. Bayer's bought up Monsanto, so Monsanto have probably got the rights to a lot of these. So they're forcing farmers to only buy their seeds from one source.
Yes.
Or one or two sources.
So as I said earlier, they've created what they call a monopoly.
Yes.
A bit like the game, the board game.
Yes, so controlling what, not only where you buy it from, but what types of seeds you can put on. Of course, what they'll do is that they'll probably produce genetically modified crops, seeds, and they'll only let you buy those.
Allotments.
In the future.
Rosa asks, allotments were distributed for people or only your granddad? No, anyone. So the area was very large. It was a large area, and all of the land was divided up into small allotments.
Owned by the council, I would imagine.
That's right, yes, owned by the council. And we used to grow all of our own food. So, yes, it was something that happened, and we never really thought about it. We didn't think we were doing anything unusual because lots of other people were doing it as well. So, and that's, what are we talking? We are talking the early to late 1970s and maybe the early 1980s. So during the 1970s, this was taking place. So not that long ago.
Yes, but since then they've declined dramatically because people don't have the time to grow their own vegetables anymore. The land has disappeared because the council have sold it for housing purposes, and just lives have changed. Now fruit and vegetables are relatively cheap in a supermarket. I mean, you can buy tomatoes are very cheap to buy, aren't they? I mean, to grow your own tomatoes now or to grow your own vegetables, you've got to be quite committed, serious, because
it's a kind of hobby.
Yes, it's more of a hobby now rather than a necessity. Yes, because I mean, to grow apples. I mean, my dad used to try growing apples. Well, the apple trees there's a lot of work to maintain an apple tree.
You have to prune them. You have to make sure that they're covered with nets so the flies and all the insects don't eat them. You have to. There's all sorts of things you have to do.
Yes, and then you can only. Yes, and I mean you can buy a bag of apples for nothing. It doesn't cost much to buy apples.
Yeah, 70p, I think. About 65 or 70 pence.
Yes, apples are really cheap. Carrots are cheap. Why would you bother growing your own carrots? Carrots are so cheap, it's ridiculous.
It's interesting how we've come full circle.
Have we?
Because we were talking about chemicals in vegetables, and then we talked about the best way is to grow your own, and then we've talked about how that's changed, and then we're back to actually just buying them from the supermarket because it's too much trouble to grow your own. I think that's true, and of course the pace of life nowadays is more hectic and chaotic
that's right.
than it was 40 years ago or 30 years ago. So that might be another reason why people aren't in their gardens growing vegetables.
Sergio says it's very popular in Russia, having an allotment.
Oh, okay.
So yes, yes, it's lovely. I mean, I used to like growing vegetables. Dad used to like growing them. So in some countries, it's still very popular to grow all your own vegetables.
Yes, and I think in this country it still happens, but not on such a wide scale because it isn't a necessity. And that's another point, you see, because let's not beat around the bush. Let's not mince our words. And it's quite often people who are poor or who have little money. And that really was our family as well. So we weren't a rich family. We didn't have tons and tons of money. So growing our vegetables was actually a necessity. We didn't really have much choice.
And if you had a large family, if you've got 4 or 5, if you've got lots of children, 2, 3, 4, 5 children, then it's going to be cheaper to grow your vegetables than buy them.
Andrew says allotments were very popular in Russia. 600, it's called, for the size, was usually 20 by 30 metres. That's quite big. That's a lot of space, that is.
600 square metres.
And they were given away to people who worked at factories.
Right.
Ah, yes, I like that idea. That does, now don't take this the wrong way, Andrew. I'm not being offensive or insulting, but that does sound like a very communist way of doing things. That's very similar to the way that villages in China would divide up their land and allow people to grow their own crops. So yes, because I had experience of that whilst I was in China. I went to visit many villages, and that's exactly what they were doing. It's true.
Yes. Yes, I would say, I've often said to Mr. Duncan, when I stop working, when I retire, I will spend more time. I will dig up some of the garden and start growing, but we haven't really got that much ground to grow vegetables on, and it's a bit slopey. So I might grow things which are expensive to buy in the shop. So, for example, I like blueberries, those little blueberries or blueberries. They're quite expensive, so I might get some blueberry bushes. But I probably wouldn't bother growing apples because I remember when Dad grew apples, that they were all full of insects. Most of the stuff you had to chuck it away because it was all the little insects got inside the apple.
High maintenance.
And
don't bother growing your own apples. It's too much trouble.
But peas were gorgeous. Freshly grown peas in the garden.
Yes. You know what I used to do? Where on the way back home, when we were pushing the vegetables back home, I would take one of the pea pods and I would open them and I would eat the peas straight from the pod, raw.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, raw peas. Oh, they're gorgeous.
I used to sort of break a couple open, and I would, just as we went back home, I would just eat the peas, and I was so pleased about that. We were very simple back then in the 1970s.
Sue Cat said I didn't know Sue Cat lived in London. She loved to go finding organic produce. Yes, you'll find lots of that particularly in London. But all over now, you can buy organic produce everywhere. And you do get a bit obsessed. I used to get very obsessed. At one time, I got so obsessed I wouldn't buy anything unless it was organic. So, but I've not quite so obsessed with it now because strawberries and things like that, they're very expensive, organic strawberries. But as long as you wash most of the fruit, I've been reading about this. If you wash your fruit or vegetables very well, then you can get rid of 95% of it, of any residual pesticides, that what left over. We talked about that.
Yes, we talked about that
the other day. So yes, pesticides left on the outside of fruit or vegetable with residual amounts.
Residue.
Yes, I don't think we're going to get chickens though, are we?
Oh, for goodness sake. Lots of people near where we live own chickens. It's become a very trendy thing. And this is something that I was going to mention about organic food, because at the start of the craze for getting organic food, it was people who wanted to do it to kind of show off or to show that they were living a higher lifestyle. So it was a thing that was like a fashion or a fad. And then eventually more and more people started buying organic food. So that's very interesting how that started off. It was something that was done in maybe the suburbs of London. And people thought, well, if they buy organic food, they're more sophisticated.
Yes.
But now, of course, it's commonplace. It's commonplace. You can go into any supermarket, and normally there is a huge section with lots of organic food.
Whether it is any better for you, I think there are supposed to be more vitamins in organic vegetables. I don't know if there's been any studies done, but whether in the long term it is healthier for you or not, because there are so many different ways of being poisoned these days.
Yes.
I mean, just breathing the air, just being inside your car, they're probably far worse for you than the small amounts of pesticides that are left on fruit and vegetables.
That's
so
it.
Who knows whether it's going to benefit your health in the long term.
I bet you, if we stand here now, I bet you we can name 10 things that exist in our normal day-to-day lives. I bet we can name 10 things that are harmful, but they are present all the time. Can you think of 10 things?
Well, I mean, the one thing that you get exposed to most of the time if you drive is all the particles coming out from the burning of fossil fuels. You know, from the petrol and diesel. And if you just sit in your car, particularly a new car, there is a whole mass of chemicals coming off the dashboard, off the seat. Apparently, you should never, when you go into your car, particularly if it's been in the sun and it's hot.
And it's new.
Well, even if it's not new, but particularly if it's new.
Okay.
You know that smell you get in a particular new car, or that plasticky smell, whenever it's very hot, you shouldn't breathe that in.
Oh.
You should open the doors and windows and let that out, because apparently it's quite poisonous. It's like if you get a new piece of furniture and it's made from chipboard, modern furniture, there's lots of glue in it, lots of formaldehyde. You should open your windows for a while, because you're breathing in lots of poisonous chemicals from the manufacturing process.
I've always noticed that when you have a new carpet as well.
Yes,
The smell of a new carpet in your room, it's quite delicious. I mean, you want to take deep breaths of the smell, but in fact, it's probably the chemical in all of the dye, in all of the things that we use to make the carpet that you're breathing in. So basically, you're breathing in chemicals. But that's very interesting about new cars, because they always have a very special smell. A new car, when you get into it, it's sort of, and you want to breathe it all in.
but that's chemicals. That's probably, they're not very good. Do you know something that amazed me? You know, on the windscreen of a car, anybody that drives,
The glass at the front.
the windscreen, the front, that's right. After a while, you get this sort of film on the inside of your windscreen. Everybody will know this that drives, and you have to wipe it off. It's like almost becomes very foggy. You get it like a white film over the inside of your windscreen.
It's like a discoloration.
Yes, it's and you think it's you put your finger through it, you can wipe it off. And when the sun is low in the sky and you're driving, it makes it difficult to see out. Well, do you know what this film is that develops on the inside of your windscreen?
I would take a rough
Have I
guess.
told you before?
We've talked about it in this country a lot,
Yes.
and it's just basically pollution.
Well, what it is, it's the plastic from your dashboard that particularly in the sun, is evaporating. So there are chemicals coming out of the plastic.
Oh, I see. It's on the inside.
On the inside of your windscreen,
Oh, okay,
yes.
then.
Not on the outside, on the inside. So what's happening, all your dashboard's plastic, there's lots of plastic in a car. And so what's happening is that the plastic is coming off in vapor form, and it's depositing on the inside
Wow.
of your windscreen.
So that's literally the plastic
That's
almost dissolving into the air.
Yes, so over many, many years, this is constantly coming off the plastic, particularly when it gets very hot in the sun.
So doesn't that worry you?
Well, yes. So when I read that,
He lives in
you're
his
breathing
car.
this in all the time.
You're in the car quite a lot of the time because you're on the road a lot.
That's right. So, yes, don't breathe that vapour in your car, because who knows what that'll do to you in 20, 30 years' time.
Wind the windows down, or even better, get one of those soft top cars that you can take the roof off and then you can drive and have the wind in your hair.
Ingles is a point there. You're talking magnetic fields from cell phones. All sorts of things. Where do you stop? We're exposed to exposed to so many things.
Yes, that was my point.
So probably pesticides in food is probably not that good. It's on the list, but there are so many others.
You can find 10 things easily. You can actually name 10 things straight away off the top of your head without even thinking about it. Things that are probably causing damage to the environment or to us. And of course, the other problem, and I don't want to get too deep into this subject because we've talked about this for about the last 40 minutes. Incredible. But also, things affect people in different ways. And you know where I'm going with this. And we often hear of stories. We often hear stories, especially in the media, of certain things causing certain types of cancer. But of course, it won't necessarily cause cancer in everyone.
Yes.
It's some people. So some people might and some people might not.
Yes, that's a good point.
So it only makes that issue even more confusing because the one thing might make one person ill, but it might leave the other person completely unharmed.
For example, smoking. We all know smoking's bad.
My grandmother, 94, she smoked like a chimney.
Yes. So, well, see, there's the point.
All her life.
Smoking is bad for you. There's no doubt. Okay.
94.
Smoking is very bad for you, we know, but some people aren't severely affected by the effects of the smoke. So, like your grandmother, for example, you see, that's often an excuse that smokers will use. They'll say, well, it can't be bad for you because I know somebody who's 90 and they've smoked all their lives. But they are probably the exceptions. My father smoked probably 40 or 50 cigarettes every day
I'm not
for most of his life.
Not sure if that's a good example.
No, but what I'm saying is...
I see.
He still lived till he was 80.
But his life sadly ended in a very awful way.
Yes, but we don't know whether it was the smoking that caused that. If you were to die, lung cancer is the common way that people think about the effects of smoke. But some people, apparently, they've identified, medical people, biologists, scientists have identified that a certain percentage of the population have got a specific gene that protects them against the effects of the smoke. So they can pretty much smoke whatever they like, and it's not really going to have a serious effect on them health-wise. But it's a lottery. You're not going to know whether you've got that.
That's it. You've hit the nail on the head there, Steve. Life is a lottery.
Yes, I mean, in the future they'll be able to determine what this gene is that protects some people from the effects of smoking. But I mean, you'll always get, so yeah, some people can smoke all their lives and get to 90 because they've got a genetic makeup that protects them. But that same person might be very susceptible to something else. It's just it's all to do with your genetic makeup.
Yes,
it's like heart failure. There's I don't know what his name is. There's a famous athlete. Somebody who's quite well known in the UK. He's just been diagnosed with heart disease. So the last thing you would expect is a world famous athlete to get heart disease, but that's down to genetics. So if you've got a genetic predisposition to heart disease, whether you are an athlete or not, you're still going to get heart disease.
Yes, yes. That sort of returns to what I said about life being a bit of a lottery. Certainly, for some people, the genetics are making sure that thing eventually occurs, whereas in someone else, it doesn't do a thing. And that's the problem. My grandmother's name was Mary, by the way, Mary.
Why is that relevant?
Someone's asked on the live chat.
Right, okay. Look at what Caridas has put on now. Now look, you must have read my mind, Caridas, because...
Well, didn't you see the documentary the other night, Steve, about that they're now finding fragments, microscopic fragments of plastic in water?
Because I said to Mr. Duncan said, what are you going to talk about today? Are you got anything you want to talk about? And I said, I want to talk about pollution and plastic bottles and plastic pollution.
Well, many people
all around the world.
It is a hot topic now.
It's a hot topic. And Carides is right. Apparently, the plastic, I mean, any type of plastic, but when it gets into the food, and it gets into fatty food. So cheese, a lot of people in the UK, probably around the world, cheese is always wrapped in cling film or in plastic. Well, any food that's got a lot of fat in it will absorb the chemicals out of the plastic. The plastic is all the time leaching small amounts. You don't realise it. The chemicals are coming off the plastic all the time. And if the food is fatty, then more of it comes off. So cheese or oil or something like that. And when the plastic, apparently according to the scientists, when the plastics go into your body, they behave like a hormone.
Okay.
So they actually behave like female hormones in your body.
Oh, okay.
Apparently. I mean, I don't know that much about it. But
will I get boobies?
So, yes, so they think it's, particularly within men, it's having the effect of maybe reducing the sperm count, increasing female hormone levels in men is obviously going to make them, reproductive cells less effective. So look at that. I wanted to talk about plastic bottles, and without even talking about it, Carides has brought it up. So yes, but you've not only got the chemicals acting like a hormone in your body, but now, as Mr. Duncan said, they told us on the news 2 weeks ago that there are small particles of plastic floating in bottled water.
Yes.
You can't see it; it's microscopic, and you're swallowing these. So, what effect are they having?
Well, did you see the poor whale today that was washed up on the beach, and sadly it died, and inside its stomach there were lots and lots of plastic bags.
Really?
It was actually just eating the plastic bags.
Oh,
and it just filled up its stomach and of course killed it because it wasn't getting any nutrition. So the plastic didn't actually kill the animal, it filled the animal up, and of course, it wasn't absorbing any nutrients.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
No, it was on the news today. A very big story on the internet today.
Well, apparently, even if they stop now It's going to take about 100 years to get rid of all the plastics in the oceans.
That's very
They said on the
depressing.
news last night.
An
Even if we
expert-
put no more in,
Yeah.
it's going to take 100 years to get rid of it all.
An expert said it would take 100 years, probably, to put this right.
See, look, Gretel there, Gretel Luciano, says yesterday was World Environment Day.
Yes.
Did we know about it?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Right, okay. I was just going to say it wasn't that well publicised.
Today is. Did you know today is World Running Day? They've been encouraging people to go for a run today,
Oh, right,
unless, of
okay.
course, you've got a bad heart, in which case probably not. But
Well,
yes,
you don't need to run to get exercise. You just got to go for a 20-minute walk. You don't need to run. Yes, that's it. Poor whales. If fishing ships don't kill them, plastic does.
yes.
Well, it's going to be a massive problem.
I think the thing is, this is nothing new, and I think this comes back to the very, very basic thing about human beings, and you've probably heard this before, so I apologise if this is a cliche, but human beings never learn until it's too late. We always wait until the problem is so bad that we can't do anything about it, or the fact that it will take a long time to resolve the problem. And that's human beings. We always do this. We wait and wait. We enjoy the luxury. We enjoy everything that our modern world gives us. And then when it causes problems, we wait and we wait and we wait. And then suddenly we realise we have a problem. And then everyone asks, what should we do about it? What should we do? Typical.
Yeah, well, of course, the big thing that happened. So I'll just address that. Just go back a bit. So, no, Sergio says, is the water potable in the GP? Yes, it is. You can drink water straight out of the tap in England. It's very safe. But they put a lot of chlorine in the water to sterilise the water so that it kills off a lot of the bad bacteria.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't like the taste of the chlorine in the
Yes.
water.
You can drink
So
the water straight from the tap.
Yes, it's quite safe. It's been safe for many years. You don't have to boil it or add any chemicals to it. But I actually prefer the taste of bottled water, because out of the tap it tastes. You can taste the chemicals in it that they put in to make it safe to drink. So I only use this for drinking. I don't wash with it or anything like that, or cook with it.
I'll say one thing. This has been a very, very heavy discussion tonight.
It has.
Normally it's a little bit more light-hearted, but unfortunately, for those who are falling asleep, I hope it hasn't been too boring, but yes, something different for tonight. Something very, very
Aurora's
different.
right. The danger is when the water gets hot inside the bottle. Because obviously it gets hot, more of the plastic will come out. Somebody made a comment before that even in a glass bottle, there are chemicals leaching into the water.
Yeah.
And that is true. And of course, the drinking water out of your tap, you've got to be careful that you run it, particularly in the morning, because otherwise you've got lead building up in the pipes overnight.
Well, pipes aren't lead anymore.
No, but you still get lead because all the joints, all the joints in the metal pipes in your house are joined together with lead solder on the joints.
So the way they join the metal together. But in the olden days, years and years ago, they were lead pipes.
Oh, they were, yes.
They actually
yeah.
used lead pipes to bring the water to your house.
Well, my mother said that when she was young, they were told that they had to. You mustn't drink the tap. You mustn't drink the water straight out of the tap.
You let it run.
You've got to let it run.
But that's not very environmentally friendly, is it?
Well, it isn't. But
So if 10 million people leave their taps running for a minute, that's
well, in the UK,
millions of gallons of water
pretty
gone.
much it is. But in the UK, we don't have a shortage of water. Very rarely do we have a shortage of water.
I remember
so,
the last time we had a water shortage, and that was 1976.
we have a lot of rain.
1976 was
Carried
the
us. Oh, 1976, yes.
Remember
Actually,
that?
no, we had another bit of a water that was the worst, but because we were. Do you remember when we visited somewhere and all the reservoir was virtually empty?
Oh, yes, that was about we'd moved here, so that was about 3 years ago.
And there was a bit of a shortage then, but there'd been like 10 years when there hadn't been enough rain.
We'd been to Derbyshire.
Derbyshire, that's it.
That's
and
it.
you could see things that you can't normally see.
I actually filmed there, didn't I?
You did.
I filmed myself walking in the reservoir where the water should be, and it was very low. But the last time we had a really big drought, a shortage of water, was 1976. That was a really, really hot time.
Is chlorine safe? Well, chlorine is probably safe. I mean, I've been drinking water out of a tap since I was a child. So tap water is safe to drink. You probably don't need to drink bottled water. And in fact, I'm thinking, aren't I, Mr. Duncan, of stopping buying bottled water because it's environmentally transporting it in those bottles is not very good for the environment.
Yes.
Because it's all got to be transported, using lorries or aeroplanes or whatever.
It's a constant paradox.
And the plastic bottles, of course, it's bad, isn't it?
Like I said earlier, it's a paradox because we want these things, so they have to be transported. So you need lorries, and lorries use petrol or diesel. So the diesel has to be taken from the ground, and that has to be transported. So everything has some sort of effect.
Yeah.
Even a small thing like water.
And that bottle, look at the amount of oil that's produced just for me to drink water out of there, and it'll only last about 2 days. That I mean, we do recycle the plastic bottles, but nevertheless, even recycling it means that it's used up the oil in the first place. So I'll probably switch back to tap water.
Is it true that the water in the tap in London is reused several times? Well, all water is reused. All of the water that we drink, all of the water that exists in our drinking system is the same water that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years. So there is an idea. This is the thing that always fascinates me. I always remember watching a science program. I remember watching this, and they said that somewhere someone is drinking the urine of Nelson or Henry VIII.
From hundreds of years ago.
From 100 years ago, because the water is just constantly being recycled, but naturally in the air. So when it rains, the water comes down, the water goes into the ground, it evaporates, goes somewhere else, comes back down. Some of it stays, some of it goes into a river, some goes into a reservoir. And of course, we drink the water, we go to the toilet, we have a pee-pee, then that goes back, and then that's processed again, cleaned, and then that goes back into the water system. So it's just a big circle.
I think what Inigo is alluding to there is that the water from London comes from the Thames. And of course, I think there's more recycling going on of the same water in London because it's going into the Thames and it's coming, all the waste is going in and then they're extracting it again. So I think probably, yes, it's probably not quite so pure as the water in that we get, for example. Although it's still safe to drink out of the tap.
It's definitely safe to drink. I don't want to start any scares with people saying that, I'm not going to drink London water again. No, nothing like that. It's very, very clean and healthy and lovely.
But what they'll have to do in London is probably add more chemicals to it to make it safe.
Yes.
And we know that happens because a number of years ago, probably about 20 years ago, if you remember, there was a shortage of water. And instead of getting water from reservoirs, they were getting it from other sources like underground. And they had to, in order to make that safe to drink, they had to add much more chemicals to it. And it was a horrible colour, brown colour. They said it was safe to drink, but it absolutely smelled awful. And when you made a cup of tea with it, the tea tasted horrible.
Yes, you don't want brown water.
No.
Ever. Definitely not. Well, I think that's been quite an interesting subject.
Oh, I'm exhausted.
I didn't realise we were going to be doing this. So to bring a bit of levity to the night, I am wearing my socks. Do you like my socks, Steve?
I like the fact that you've got odd socks.
I'm wearing my odd socks
I need
tonight.
to go and get myself I need to go and get my... All this talk of water has made me very thirsty.
Well, I wouldn't worry too much, Steve, because we're going in a moment.
Oh, are we?
Yes.
Oh, yes, it's 11:45.
It is now 11:45
I
midnight.
don't believe it.
So where we are, it is now 15 minutes away from midnight. Where you are, I don't know what time it is because I'm not there. So I think we will end at this point.
Okay, then. So, World Environmental Day yesterday.
Yes.
And we've added to the debate today.
Yes. And we could have probably talked for another hour
I
about
think we
this.
could have done
Yes.
very easily.
So maybe a bit of homework for you might be, can you come up with 10 things that are harmful in the air or the atmosphere or in our daily lives that might be harmful to us? And see how easy it is to name 10 things.
And what is regarded, of course, different countries, there'll be different, one thing will be more dangerous than it is. I mean, for example, in the UK, we've got relatively clean air, but in other countries like China, for example, or India, the air quality is very poor, particularly in the cities.
Yes, Beijing, for example.
Yes, Mumbai. And yes, so that might be more important there than worrying about organic food.
Well, I think we'll leave it there, Steve.
Right.
Thank you very much for your company tonight.
Oh, it's been very interesting. I love talking about because I love talking about environmental issues.
I can tell that Steve got very excited there. So we'll see you later.
Yes, goodbye to everyone, and look forward to seeing you all on Sunday.
Catch you later. Yes,
When
we
we'll
will
be
be here.
talking-
We will be here on Sunday, definitely.
Talking about uses of the word set.
No, I don't think so.
Ta-ta.
Catch you
Ooh,
catch you
I used
later.
your catchphrase.
It's okay. You don't have to worry about it. I don't own it. It's not mine. I didn't buy it.
Bye.
It is a Wednesday night and we are just a few minutes away from midnight. Yes, in around about 10 minutes it will be 12 o'clock. A new day will arrive. What about you? What time is it where you are? Is it morning yet? Or maybe it is tomorrow already. So I'm going now. Thanks a lot for your company. It is just coming up to 13 minutes away from midnight. The midnight hour is just around the corner. So thanks for your company. Thank you, Gretel, Rosa, Belarusia, Jeff. Yay for set. Well, maybe, perhaps we will be talking about uses of the word set on Sunday. Gretel says it is 5:47 p.m. So it's early evening where you are, Gretel. And Indigo says, I am in the future because here it is already tomorrow. Thank you, Sukat, for saying goodbye to Mr. Steve. Of course, we will be back on Sunday, as I said. Thank you, Rosa. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation tonight. It's been very different. Quite different indeed. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And of course, I will be with you on Sunday. All of the details are now on the screen underneath. Live English every Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time, and of course every Wednesday night from 10 p.m. UK time. You are also free to make donations via PayPal, and you can get in touch with me via my email address, or you can follow me on Facebook as well. Yes, I have my own special Facebook page. It is unique and it has been approved by Facebook. So yes, it is the real Mr. Duncan Facebook page. And you can see also the email address as well. I will catch you later, and I hope you have a good rest of the week. I hope you stay safe until Sunday. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of English saying thanks for watching me tonight, talking to you. And of course, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do, because I say it every week. Ta-ta for now.